And now, Society Network presents Homegrown After Dark, featuring Annie Davis.
Got me down in Mexico with an ounce of weed and a pound of blow.
Welcome back to Society's Network, Homegrown After Dark, and today we have an awesome guest. Someone I think everybody's going to enjoy, Annie. Annie, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Hey.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, so, Annie, I didn't know you before you came in here. So we're going to get to know each other pretty quick here,
All right.
okay? So tell me and tell everybody out there in Society Network land, where did your journey in music begin?
Yeah, okay. So this is, my story. So I grew up in Oregon. Actually born in San Antonio, and then we moved up when I was a little kid. But I grew up really, really poor, like food stamps, welfare, the whole deal. Parents split when I was 5. Dad moved back down to Texas. So I grew up with my mom and my sister up in Oregon. Anyway, so maybe 5th or 6th grade or so, it became very apparent that there wasn't going to be money for college, and this was something I was thinking about my future world. And so I decided at my young age that I was going to learn to play the trumpet and put myself through school someday. And so that became the impetus for getting into music super early on. And I couldn't afford lessons. I couldn't really afford a trumpet or an instrument of any kind. Really, I started thinking I wanted to play drums. And so,
Well, Annie, I got to ask you, because I'm sure everybody, when you said trumpet, everybody thought there's like trumpet. So how did you pick the trumpet?
Well, actually, I wanted to play drums. Was really the instrument, because back in 5th grade back then, they did the thing where everybody goes into the gymnasium and they all have a bunch of instruments, and all the kids go around and try the instruments, and then you pick what you want to play in the school band, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I wanted to play drums, and they did a whole thing where they put everybody in a circle, and they're like, okay, we want you to tap to the beat, and they got rid of all the kids that didn't have any rhythm and kept the ones that they thought would be okay on the drums. So I was all excited about drums, and they got me this little drum pad, that you play in 5th grade or whatever. And I thought, I wanted a drum kit. I was ready for cymbals and, giant bass drum and all these things. And
yes,
so
ma'am.
I spent half of 5th grade playing this little drum kit, or this little drum pad. I was like, this is not for me. And so I decided to look around and see what else they had left over in the school locker room instrument wise. And they had a trombone. And so I said, well, let me try this trombone. And so I took that home, and I had missed these little lessons that they do with the kids early on, because, they would pair you with a teacher, and they would teach you some of that early stuff. And so I missed all that, so I had to take this trombone home and try to learn it myself. And what I realized was my arms are super short. So I have these little like T-Rex arms, as I've learned later in life. So anyway, trombone couldn't reach the end positions, and so decided that wasn't for me. And so went back, and the last thing left was a trumpet. And it was all dinged up and bent, and the keys were broken and all of these things. But I was like, I'll take that. That's amazing. I love that thing. So took that home, and like I say, by this point, everybody was well ahead of me in their musical journey, at least for 5th graders. So I taught myself to play trumpet over that following summer between 5th and 6th grade. And so I went home and I worked on it every day and couldn't afford lessons, like I was saying. And so I just taught myself, and I spent some time with my grandpa that summer in San Antonio, and he had played trumpet actually in the Air Force. And so he spent a little time with me, taught me how to play The Stars at Night. It was the first song I ever learned. And went back and got first chair in 6th grade and stayed first chair through college. so that was the deal.
Once you saw that trumpet, you decided, I'm going to own that puppy.
I loved it. I loved it so much. And I loved music. More importantly, not even so much about the trumpet itself, but because like I said, I still really want to play drums. But, but for this point, that ship had sailed. So I stuck with the trumpet and, took that thing through middle school. And my mom, scraped together her $100. Took her a long time to scrape that together, and she bought me my own trumpet. I think it was somewhere in the 8th grade time frame.
There you go.
And then I had that trumpet through high school, and put myself through college on scholarship with trumpet. And so that was sort of the musical.
Go figure that.
Yeah, that was the musical journey. But then I got into college world, and as much as I loved music and really thought that was how I was going to spend my life, I was playing in pet bands and orchestras and concert bands and all of these things, and I loved it. But then I realized very quickly towards kind of the end of school that, oh shit, how am I going to pay the bills playing trumpet?
Yeah,
so,
music's a hard road to hoe.
Not just music, trumpet.
Yeah, straight up. But yeah, with a trumpet.
So
that's actually what I was just thinking, but I said a hard road to hoe. You know what I mean?
It is
from Wade
yes,
Jennings.
Yes.
And so you Yeah, you picked that trumpet. You went all the way through
I
college.
did.
You got on a scholarship. Now that's an amazing thing. Out of all the guests, I've had a couple hundred guests that I've done here in the last 3 years doing this, and I got to be honest with you, it's the first time for the trumpet. It really is.
There's a reason for that.
I've had somebody with one of those harps, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
no, you the
Yeah,
trumpets.
yeah.
Andy won this one right here. I tell you what. So okay, so you.
Yeah, so
okay.
went through school on trumpet, got towards the end of school and realized, how the hell am I going to pay the bills? And I don't want to be a band teacher, and this was not I didn't want to end up living in a van down by the river, So I was like, all right, I got to figure out something that's going to make money. So
Okay.
I pivoted, and I started into pre-med and anatomy, and jumped into a bunch of science classes that I knew nothing about, but I ended up loving that route. And so finished up all of my pre-med stuff, and kind of a whole nother tangential side story, but that was what ultimately led me to starting a company a few years down the road, and
Okay.
moving here to Austin to get that company going. And that company is called Run Lab. So we do running biomechanics analysis and physical therapy and all that stuff. So anyway, once that company got off the, go
I was
ahead.
gonna say, do y'all build men there?
No, not yet,
Okay,
but
okay.
maybe
So-
down the road.
All of us old guys were like,
Yeah.
all right, here we go now. You
Well,
can't-
so that journey and becoming a business person and an entrepreneur and CEO and all of these things for 15 years, from the time I left college up to my mid 30s, late 30s, whatever. It was a huge learning experience for me just in life, but also I really missed music. And so a couple 3 years ago maybe or so, a friend of mine that's in a band out in Arizona, they have a pretty well-known band, and so anyway, their band's called Roger Klein the Peacemakers, but he has a side band that's a Stones cover band, and he said, come play your trumpet in this band. And I was like, man, I haven't played that thing in like 15 years, but these guys they're kind of famous and they're awesome, and I thought,
Yeah.
I can't not do this. And so I ended up dusting off that horn and showing up, and had a great time. And the other trumpet players were like, oh man, we'll teach you the RCPM tunes as well. So I said, well, I can't say no to that, because I like risk and adventure and all the fun things.
Absolutely,
right?
yes, ma'am.
so,
Yes, ma'am.
so I
Okay.
find myself, 6 months after not playing my horn for 15 years, on this stage in Mexico playing with these guys in front of thousands of people or whatever. And it was this big eye-opening moment of, oh man, I missed music, and I missed the camaraderie that musicians have with each other in a band that's been playing as long together as these guys had been. And just that whole concept, I had missed that. And so that was what inspired me. I went back and I bought myself a drum kit for Christmas that year. I said I'm going to learn how to play, and started playing the drums. And then it was just this slippery slope into learning a little bit of keyboard, and then finally, maybe 2 years or so ago, buying a guitar.
Getting
and
on the
saying
guitar.
because
It's always the eventual instrument for everybody.
well, yeah, I mean, honestly, I think still drums is probably my favorite,
Yeah.
but it's hard to sing and play drums, or write music and play drums and do all of those things.
I actually did it as a little kid. I started out as a drummer. I have a family that are musicians.
Oh, that's
And so
awesome.
I started out as the drummer, and you know what I mean. And,
Yeah.
and I wanted to prove that I could sing and drum.
Yeah.
Yeah. My mother didn't like that one too much.
It's a hard skill, and yes, it's very
Oh.
loud. Yes.
It was a hard skillet, because that's what she'd
Yes.
throw this little skillet at me and tell me shut up. You know what I mean? It was. Yeah, anyways, so that's where I got that knot right here above the eye. So I mean, this is pretty amazing. You got to admit this, people, right here. Okay, so you discovered a trumpet,
Yeah, so I got through.
and you went all the way to the college.
Yeah, so got through all the business stuff.
And then
learned
you went and
about
played
life.
down in Mexico, you said?
Went and played in
Went and played in Mexico in front of thousands of people on the trumpet. You know.
It was fun. It was
Oh
great.
dear Lord! Yeah, I mean, this is
great.
priceless here, man. Are you messing with me?
No, it was great.
Oh,
No, it was
okay.
great. It was definitely yeah.
Okay, so now she's doing her own thing, and we're about to check her out, do her first song. What's the name of that? Something in the Water.
Something in the water.
So here we go. Here's Annie doing her original tune, and she ain't playing no trumpet, people. Something in the Water.
Hi there, I'm Annie Davis, and this is my original tune, Something in the Water. Keys are on the table, there's something in the water. There's a whore in the stable and a body in the dance
right, we're back, and Annie doing her song "Something in the Water." So Annie, give everybody out there in Society Network Land. Well, now Annie Land. Go for I'm just telling you now. Watch this girl. So why don't you give all them a little bit of background on that song, on what was in the making of it?
So I got to tell you, with this tune, there's not a whole interesting story behind it at all. But I live out way in the country, and that tune is about a cult. Because there are some cults that are kind of out in the area where I live, but there's also these little, cute little white churches that you just don't even know what's going on behind closed doors. And I had a moment driving by one of those. I was like, yeah, I bet there's a bunch of sister wives in that church. And so I wrote a song about a cult, and that is the story behind that too.
Something in the water.
Something in the water.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I had to ask, right? So, okay, so you were literally driving down the road. You saw an old church.
Yeah.
And, and then something in the
Made me
water.
think about a cult.
A cult.
So-
Well, I guess if you look at it from the side, just a little bit right here, they do baptisms, something in the water.
Right?
Yep.
Songs are always up to interpretation. That's one thing I like about songwriting. That's the reason to get into it, right?
It is. Out of all the people I've interviewed, everybody says the same thing. They're like, everybody interprets. I write this song about someone I'm in love with, and they think this other person thinks I'm talking about my car.
Yeah.
It's how they get it.
I just real quick, I'll tell you the story behind. So when I picked up the guitar, I really wanted to learn. So I'd never sung in front of anybody, like not until a couple of years ago, maybe a year and a half or so ago. So I had never done karaoke, never done any of it, because I was terrified of the idea. It was never something I'd done. I'd been told I was a bad singer. I'd been told all kinds of things that, make a little kid think, I don't want to ever try this in front of anybody. So
Right.
It was something I just wanted to conquer. And so I bought this guitar, and I was like, damn it, I'm gonna write a song, and I'm gonna learn to sing at least one tune, and I'm gonna conquer this thing. So I wrote a tune that was all one chord. It was the only chord that I could play on the guitar, and I ended up going to this little open mic over at New World Deli in Austin.
What was that? What was that chord?
It was an A minor, but it was capoed, so it was really C minor, but that was it. So A minor capo.
Okay.
Yep. And so and that tune's called Runnin'. Well, I actually ended up just last, I want to say November or so, releasing that tune on Spotify, and it's actually it came out really, really great for one chord tune, and the first song I'd ever written and any of that stuff. But what I learned about music is just if you've got something to say, don't let anybody tell you not to do that. And I think that's what songwriting has been for me, is a way to connect to people through my interpretation of what my feelings are, and my head garbage, and my grief and fear and loneliness and pain and all the things that everybody feels. But songs connect people in a way that I say all the time when I'm at my shows. I have this one tune called Knock Knock, and it's about kind of the head shit, the demons in your head. And I say that songwriting has been a socially acceptable way to get all that shit out in a way that people don't say you're a lunatic. Because if you say it in a song, they're like, oh, that's just beautiful art.
Everybody, the one thing, I'll say about being a musician, even at the times where I've been a total screw up in my life, it's like, well, he's a musician, and everybody kind of, I guess if it's the wackiness of life, if you're a musician, it's like, it's okay.
Yep.
He's a musician, you know what I mean? If you
Yep.
think about it. So, but I understand, when I sit down and play the fiddle, guitar. I won't say fiddle. People see this, start calling me for fiddle work. It's not a fiddle. But, so I'm the same way. I sit down and whatever comes to mind is what I start putting down. It's usually stuff I feel inside.
Yep.
Of course, everything that I do is almost Christian-based.
Do you like my song about the cult then?
Christian
It's
music.
cool, I get it.
People don't say, people want to be inspired. You
Yeah.
get those assholes out there, and I'll say it, and you can say anything you want on here, but I call them assholes, But anyways, and they say, that's just a hopium song. And it's not, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If it cheers you up or gives you anything to make you a better person, or just make you look at yourself a little bit better in the mirror, hey, there's nothing wrong with it.
Yep. I'm with you, man. Yep.
Okay, so we're all talking about hopium now. So anyways, let's talk about, so you could put the career in the biomechanics.
Yeah.
So is it kind of like the trumpet thing that you dove into it, or you're like, I compared careers and stuff like this, and this is the one I know.
No, very much the other thing. So
She's
I'm actually a chiropractor. I had never been to a chiropractor when I started chiropractic school. I had all of my pre-med done, And my plan was to go to medical school. I was an EMT and a firefighter on the side at the time. And so I wanted to go
firefighter.
I wanted to go to medical school and
Okay,
and
there we go.
be an ER doc. But then
Okay.
I spent a bunch of time. I had gotten into triathlon for the first time in my life. This is like mid-20s or so.
Okay.
And I started getting injured over and over. You and I have talked about the knee
Yeah.
stuff,
Oh,
right?
yeah. Brutal,
So I
brutal.
started having injuries that I couldn't solve, and I couldn't find anybody to help me figure the problem out. And I knew it was something about the way that I was running as I was training for these triathlons. And I just made a huge life pivot because I ended up in an orthopedist office, and they said, you need to stop running. It's bad for your knees. And I'm like, I'm 25 or 26 or whatever. What are you talking about? And so I ended up pivoting and throwing that guy's card away and going and saying I'm going to go to chiropractic school because I know they learn a lot about the human body and the way that the bones and joints and musculoskeletal system work. And so, like I say, I'd never been to a chiropractor, decided to just dive into that world and the whole thing. But I'm glad I ended up with the degree I have because I was able to start the company.
Okay,
I did,
so
and work on people's biomechanics and all
we
that.
gotta go for the top. We're talking trumpet, scholarship, Mexico, thousands of people on trumpet, triathlete, okay, chiropractor now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he's a woman of many faces here. Chiropractor. So okay, so let's keep going. I think everybody's enjoying. All the musicians are gonna be like, I want to be just like her. They're gonna be depressed because you just set that bar so high.
No, it just means no sleep and a bunch of head shit. That's all that means.
Yeah, that bar's set all the way to the top now. It's like, damn, I ain't confident shit in my life, man. But okay, so let's go.
Yeah, so I guess that's where we are now.
Okay.
I've had the company, I've had Run Lab for 7 or 8 years, and I started expanding outside of Texas into Phoenix and into Denver and going around the country. And so that, fortunately, I don't practice anymore, I just run the company. And so it allowed me to really get back into music and start doing the thing that, again, my heart was, always in from the beginning. And so it's been really cool. And I think, I tend to be a big just, jump off the cliff and build your wings on the way down kind of person anyway.
Oh, I
but
hear you, yes.
I think getting back into music has just fulfilled me in a way that I didn't realize what I was missing until I got back into it. So it's very cool to do that.
I mean, now you got the ability. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's allowed me a path that, exactly.
You went out. I mean, a lot of people, it's like, I had this cat on here named Landon Bullard back at the K-Bay show. I haven't had him on this one, but I had him on my other show, the Homegrown Hour. And, he's like, I went to school, I had a degree. He was the most educated musician that came on the show, right? And I, kind of, if I could put his picture, I'll put him out. I'm saying him right now, so I'll put a picture up here. We'll let Billy. That's really just a green wall, right?
That's a green wall.
Kermit's lair in here. So, anyways, and I mean, dear Lord, I mean, some of the accomplishments that you've done, you should pat yourself on the back because now you deserve music.
Yeah.
A lot of people go off, think they're going to make the living in music. Here is the truth. You need a person like this with companies that she has to be a musician. If not, it's just not going to work, man.
Well, I think the thing that has taught me, or I guess what I should say that I've learned life experience-wise coming back into music when I have, is that, there's a lot of me that says, man, I missed out on all this time. If I'd been playing for the last 20 years, I'd be so much better at the guitar, and I'd be so much, better at singing and better at songwriting and all these things. But what I have to draw from is a bunch of life experience and a bunch of risk-taking and a bunch of things. But the other thing that I've learned is just looking at music like a business too. And I think there are so many talented musicians out there who can't put on their business hat. They don't want to talk about money. They don't want to, just tell somebody what they're worth when they go to book a show. It's hard to run a business, and that's whether you're talking about music or anything else. You got to have a big pair of balls to do it. And ultimately, that's what I tell all my musician friends is don't be afraid to talk about money. Don't be, afraid to draw your line in the sand and say, I'm worth this. And I think that that's why there's so much talent out there that, doesn't make it further than they'd like to.
They don't. Everybody's worst manager is themselves.
Yeah,
everybody's best manager is themselves. I mean, it's a thin line. We have a thing called the Greater Marble Falls Live Music Society. And it's one of the things that I'm involved in locally here, and we are advocates for the musicians. I know a lot of venue owners. I mean, I know thousands of venue owners. But the deal is a lot of them just look at me because they know that I want the musicians to get fair pay.
Yeah.
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 And that's the main thing. They're like, dude, but we just sponsored you, Mel. I'm like, I understand you did, but you have to, if you're going to sponsor a guy like me, you got to understand what I'm standing for. All these people behind me.
Yeah.
I hate the old cliche that, a musician spends 50,000 hours practicing, take his $5,000 of equipment, put it in his $500 car to go make $50 on his gig.
Right. Right.
That's the thing that tears me up the most, that they do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And it's so hard. There are so few industries where people have the kind of passion they do for something like music and are willing
Absolutely.
to do that.
Yeah.
You wouldn't go work at, Burger King for 12 cents an hour because you just don't have the passion for it,
Right.
but you'll do it for music because
Yeah.
there's something in us about it. You got to do it. I try to talk to people about this all the time I think musicians understand each other, no matter how good a musician you are, how new or how, experienced or whatever, we just speak this kind of language because it's something we can't not do.
Right.
And I think that's why we take, peanuts for pay, or we sit on the sidewalk and just play for anybody who will listen, because it's just something you have to get out of your soul. And I think there's something really cool about that, like you said.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, it's a neat thing to be able to connect with others.
I have more time sitting and play. I have a better time playing my guitar when I'm just sitting there at a campfire with friends.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Of course, equally good being up on a stage with people and get
Sure,
paid to do it.
sure,
But
sure.
It's the same thing. But I get to sit at that campfire like people do not pay what they're supposed to be paying.
Yeah.
That's just got to
Yeah.
break that.
Yeah.
So, and speaking of that, let's talk about your next song.
Oh, Lie to Me. So,
Lie to Me.
Okay, so this one's hard for me to get through. It's my hardest song to sing, honestly. Let's see. I already mentioned we moved up to Oregon when I was a little kid, and then my parents split when I was 5 or 6. Dad moved back to San Antonio, so we would see him just once in the summers, usually for a month or so.
Yes,
And so when I was, I don't know, I guess it was 2011. So I had come down to Austin to do a triathlon, and I'd never been to Austin before, and I was like, this is an amazing city, and also it's 85 and sunny in October, and it's 40 and raining 8 months out of the year in Oregon. So I had I went back from that trip. Yeah, it was October of 2011. I went back and I just decided to leave. And after growing up there and spending my whole life in Oregon, I said, I'm going. I quit my job. I broke up with the guy I was dating for several years, and I packed my car and I just said, this is an internal compass thing I got to do. So I packed my car with whatever I could, and that was what I brought with me. And I showed up on my dad's doorstep, and said, here I am. And I made it on Christmas Day of 2011 was my first day in Texas. And my plan was to just stay with him until I had a plan in place and could get my license here, my chiropractic license here, and get something going. So moved in with him, and then a month after that, he was diagnosed with esophageal cancer.
Oh, dear Lord.
Yeah, he'd been a smoker, his whole life, and since nobody knew when he was 12 when he started, it wasn't a thing. So anyway, so he was diagnosed, and I had this year with him that I never would have had I not just done that move. But we had so much in common and so many things that I just didn't know about him because I'd never lived with him, and I never had the time with him. So that year, just a really, really important year to me. I got a lot of time with him going through chemo, and just, we would just sit on the couch and talk, and we'd stay up all night, just talk, like making up for all this lost time, And anyway, so this tune, I wrote this tune for him, and it's called Lie to Me.
All right, boy. Here we go. We got Annie singing her original tune, Lie to Me.
I'm Annie Davis, and this is a tune from my dad called Lie to Me. Sitting on the porch in my party dress, 'cause you always tie my mood. Mama says I need to come inside. We always like to watch the snow. Last time that I saw you smile, you were waving me goodnight. I kissed your wanna see me laugh. Maybe you could cry for me. Say you'll always be there, make my merry world go round. Maybe you could lie to me. Say you'll be waiting when I know I'm here on my own. Maybe you could lie to me. 'Cause heaven's not far, but it's too far for you to come home. Heaven's not far, but it's too far for you to come home.
And we're back with Annie singing the original song "Lie to Me." Annie, you explained at the beginning about that song and your dad, and I want to tell you, and I almost to tell you sorry about that. It's a tough road, an inevitable road that we're all going to meet. We all meet when we lose our parents. So when you wrote the song, and I don't want to dig too much on the emotion side of it, okay? But when you wrote the song, was it something immediately afterwards, or?
Well, my dad passed away in 2013, and so I didn't get into songwriting until just a couple of years ago.
Okay.
But I think that, weirdly, that was probably one of the things that eventually led me to buying my guitar and playing, because just carrying these emotions around without a way to really express it. And you could talk to people about something like that, like I lost my dad, and everybody's gone through something horrible, and you can connect, but you can put yourself into a song in a way that you just can't talk about it,
Yeah.
And then it's a song that lives forever. And every time I sing this freaking tune, I get like this thing in my stomach, and it's hard for me to get through it, but it takes me back to that moment, with my dad, when I saw him in his hospital bed for the last time, and I kissed his head and walked down the hallway, and that was it. He died, and I came back, and he was gone. And it just, I remember the moment, because he was in hospice, and I was going to get my aunt at the airport, because it was like, he's going, you got to get here. And I went all the way down to the hallway, all the way out to my car, and I was like, man, I just had something in my gut. And I went all the way back and gave him a kiss on his forehead and said, I love you, Daddy, And that was the last time I saw him, alive. And so I just feel like that, I think about that moment when I have that lyric and that tune about the last time that I saw your face, I kissed your head, and it just like that takes me there every time. And I think that that's part of why we write songs, is for stuff like that.
It is. There's some songs out there when, like this one, that people bring from their heart. I've had a lot of guests on the show. I'm trying to pull out of the emotional stuff real quick. So,
it's hard.
so I've had a lot of people on the show, and I'll ask them. I was like, when did you write that song? It's like, I tripped over the step coming in the door. I was like, well, where'd you get roses out of that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I saw roses. You know what I mean? So on a little bit of a lighter side. So that was a beautiful song. So what are some of the plans that you have moving forward? And you said that, have you cut any of these songs that are out on CD? You cut your already.
So CDs aren't a thing anymore.
I'm sorry.
Well, actually, that's not even true.
It just isn't.
Apparently they are.
Yeah. They're really not, but it's easy. It's digital media.
But I've had people, like 25-year-olds at shows, ask me if they could buy a CD. I'm like, CD? You guys use a CD? They're like, yeah, CD. It's a thing. I'm like, really? So I think it's a thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's
But yes, so 2 of them are out on digital media. So running the one
Spotify.
Tune, my first, Spotify, and Amazon and iTunes and all that stuff. So and YouTube. So that one, and then another tune called Nuclear Meltdown. Those two tunes are out, and then I've got Lie to Me, the song that I just did, is in the studio right now, working on cutting that, and then got a couple other tunes in the studio, and then I've probably got 30 songs that are ready to go to the studio. But it's more COVID. COVID has slowed studios down, slowed musicians down, slowed everything down. I've been on standstill.
It still hasn't recovered.
I know.
It really hasn't.
I know.
Before COVID, 90% of everything that me and a couple other people do was knocked out, just completely, because all of our we have a lot of platforms. So we use other people's platforms and put pages on them. Let me correct everybody's like, Mel, you did not build all that stuff. I did not. I built all the pages. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when the musicians in the music part of it, right? Because the other things, but when the musicians couldn't play, I didn't have content. and you want current content. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Because I tell everybody when they
Yep.
put a video out on anything, put the date
Yep.
in the heading.
Yep. Yep.
That's how that little
Yeah.
finds you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it always looks for newest first. So
So yeah, looking to get in the studio and do an album or two,
Okay.
album
Okay.
or 6 in the next.
well, there you go. There you go. So okay. So how can you stay being a chiropractor? We have one right across the street here at Lakeside Pond.
Yeah.
Society Network's right here inside the building. First in the whole world. Kermit's Lair inside of a pawn shop. And that guy's busy every day. Mm-hmm. I mean, we look across over there sometimes saying we're in the wrong business.
Well, so my company doesn't do traditional chiropractic stuff really. We do much more movement based, much more like physical therapy.
Right.
So movement based biomechanics, all of that kind of stuff. So we got hit hard during COVID because even though people were out running, nobody wanted to come into a clinic and work on their biomechanics and do all of these things, So it was a tough time, but it allowed me a lot of time to reflect and write tunes and
There you go.
get into my own head and all that stuff. You were asking too about what's next and sort of where we are
Absolutely,
with things.
yeah.
So I just got a band, so I'm super excited about that piece of things because I've just been piecing everything together myself, and I'm new at guitar and
Okay.
all of these things, and so finally getting the right people together, because as you know, as a musician, it takes a long time to find the right people.
It
to find
does,
people
because
that-
musicians are all flaky. I
they're
know.
all flaky. I know,
Flaky, I'm
so
telling you, like
flaky.
cornflakes,
Oh
man,
my God.
frosted.
And I want everything done like yesterday, So
Yeah.
I just, it's been hard to drop myself into the music world because of just the impatience that I live my life with. But through many iterations of trying different people and different things and different configurations, I've got this awesome crew now. So that's been probably the most exciting thing for me in the last 6 months, is just having a band, because it can take these songs from good bones to really being something special when you can get
Absolutely.
this collaborative process and all these different layers to it. So that's the thing I'm most
So
excited
all your
about.
bandmates, are they full-time musicians, or they're all workers? And
They really are all full-time musicians, but they all have jobs that they are doing on the side to piece it together so that
Right.
they can afford to buy the guitars that they love. And,
you gotta be able, you
to
gotta be able to order the Domino's
They're doing
pizza.
it. Yep. Yep.
I'm
Yep.
telling you, more than enough times to practice.
Yeah.
That was our breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yeah.
Okay, so cool. So
Yeah.
tell us about Juliet.
The last tune? Okay, so Juliet. Again, this one I don't have a ton of backstory on as far as what the song is about. It's really about kind of a prostitute girl that, sells cocaine and weed.
Oh, okay.
So it's about that.
So
we go
you-
from
So you're
cancer
writing the
sad
song, and
to-
you're like subject matter prostitution.
right.
Cocaine.
Cancer, death,
Weed.
all the sad things, and then cults and
There you go,
cocaine. So that's what this. Well, so here's
Annie.
here's probably the more interesting thing. Not about the song, but just about. So the band is called. So I'm Annie Davis, my name, but the band is called Trashy Annie. And the way that I landed on that name is probably the story that is kind of goes with this tune. But basically, I had done that first tune I talked to you about, Runnin', that's all one chord, whatever. So a friend of mine listened to it and was like, man, we'd really like to use this in this fundraiser. Do you have a video that goes with it? And I said, I don't, but I can try to figure out how to make a video. And so I'm not techie at all. So, it's COVID, nothing's open. I'm like, I can do this. So I go out, next to my house, and I'm filming myself with all these little outfits like this, all this crazy stuff or whatever, and do the best I can. I learn how to edit. I stay up all night, doing this thing. I get them this video. I'm super proud of it. I put it on YouTube as my first YouTube thing, YouTube video. Anyway, people are chiming in. They like it. And then this lady gets on there, and she makes this comment. She's like, aren't those clothes a little young for you? And I was, first of all, I was heartbroken because I'm like, nothing about the song, nothing about anything related to anything except for judgment.
Just pure cruelty.
Just straight up judgment,
Yeah.
And she didn't know anything about backstory, any of the things. And so it was actually a time I was sitting there ready to go do some demos. I had a pile of sparkly clothes next to me. I mean, I run across her comment at this just terrible time. So I sit there for 20 minutes or so, and I'm kind of, broken inside. I'm like, man, people, maybe she's right, whatever. And then, I pulled my big boy pants on and I said, screw this girl. I don't care what she thinks about me. I'm doing everything from a good place, and all of the things I'm putting my guts on the table for people, And if they want to judge me, judge me. And so then that's when I landed on the name Trashy Annie. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to lean in. I'm just going to be what I am. And if people don't like it, it's okay. We don't have to be friends. You don't have to listen to my music. It's totally fine. So anyway, that's how we got there.
Well, that's cool.
Somebody's negative comment.
And plus, there's
you
8
can always turn
billion
positive.
people. If a couple of people in this world don't like you,
you know what? Not
Fuck 'em.
everybody's going to like you. Not everybody's going to like you. Not everybody's going to agree with you. And that's okay. I mean, that's what makes the world interesting, right? It's okay that she has that opinion. I don't care. But it was definitely a pivotal moment in looking at the negativity that can come at you as a musician. Because, we pour our souls out, right? And then someone's like, thumbs down. You're like, come on, man. That was just like all my guts right there on the table.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's okay. We keep going, you pick yourself up and you keep writing and you keep doing your thing, because it's not about them. It's about those other people, and it's about
That's
you.
right.
So.
And this is people's careers that are trying to work on here, people.
Yeah.
All right, so check this out. Here's Annie playing Juliet.
Hi there, I'm Manny Davis, and this is an original tune called Juliet. Got me down in Mexico with an ounce of weed and a pound of blow. Kept my finger and stole my toe. Sent me running on back through the barrio. Got me down in Balmorhea with a see-through dress and a bill pay. Slapped my wrist and sent me home. Said a high heel shoe ain't made to run. But hey, babe, I like it like that. I can walk a mile in a shoe like that. Hey, babe, I'll take your bet. If you be my John, I can be your Juliet. Juliet, Juliet, I ain't playing hard to get. Hold me down, make me sweat, and I'll be your Juliet. Juliet, Juliet, I ain't playing hard to get. Pay my will and pay my debt, and I'll be your Juliet. Got me down in Baton Rouge with a fake ID and a man lose. Stole my weed and sold my blood. So I'm heading on back down to Mexico. But hey, babe, I like it like that. I can walk a mile in a shoe like that. Hey, babe, I'll take your bet. If you be my John, I can be your Juliet. Juliet, Juliet, I ain't playing hard to get. Hold me down, make me sweat, and I'll be your Juliet. Juliet, Juliet, I ain't playing hard to get. Pay my widow and pay my debt, and I'll be your Juliet. Juliet, Juliet, I ain't playing hard to get. Hold me down, make me sweat, and I'll be your Juliet. Juliet, Juliet, I ain't playing hard to get. Pay my widow and pay my debt, and I'll be your Juliet. Just pay my widow and pay my debt, and I'll be your Juliet.
All right, there we go. There was Annie playing her song Juliet. It was pretty interesting. I'm still stuck on the trumpet still, but I'll let you know that was interesting, your story you had before that tune, Juliet, about, lady gets on there trolling you
Yeah.
and, decides to go in and try to pop you up mentally, as I call it,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you came up, well, here I am.
Yeah.
Trashy Annie.
Yeah.
There you go. I mean, you
Yeah.
just can't beat that. So, okay, so you've done quite a bit with your life.
Thanks. I hope to
You
do
know-
a bit more.
You know what I mean? So, do you have any more family in Texas, or it's just
Nope.
Just Annie in
Well, my
Texas?
stepmom lives in San Antonio, and then the rest
Okay.
of my family is up in Oregon still. And
Okay.
So up in the rainy.
Do you like San Antonio?
I like Austin better.
You like Austin better?
Yeah.
You know, I grew up in San Antonio, so not on the good side town, but you know, I don't know.
Not in the good side of town.
I mean, yeah, I grew up in bad areas of San Antonio. You know what I mean? Yeah, I really did. So I had a similar childhood to you, very similar. So, but anyways, okay. So I mean, what do you find that you like more about Austin than you do San Antonio? Both of them have.
I mean, I would say that the music scene is now things are changing, right? Like Austin is
Yeah.
kind of getting a little bit plowed down in some areas, and you know
Right.
things are certainly changing. And I mean, we'll see how it all ends up going. I think I'm always on the lookout, whether it's Austin or any other city, for cool cities that have pockets of great live music and art.
The
and
small
kind of,
towns.
yeah, foster the artistic scene, whether that's music or something else.
Well, you know, the reason why I said the small towns, and I tell everybody this, you know, hit your small town civic centers, those little places,
Yeah.
small town bars, because they're not used to seeing anything new. They get just the same thing. And then like in Austin or San Antonio or Fort Worth or that nasty word Nashville, you know, they both start with an N. So I'm a opponent of BMI and ASCAP. I just I believe they ripped our artist off. I did not say that. So don't block the video. I didn't say that there. But yeah, so the small towns. So you know, when you're in the bigger cities and the bigger markets, everybody's doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And then if they see something that's working there,
Yeah.
they're going to start doing it immediately.
Yeah.
So it's easy to kind of go off to your side.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah.
if I was to give somebody some good advice for picking up gigs,
Yeah.
that's where you want to go.
Well, and it's hard to cut through the noise. You know, I think there's a lot, and even after COVID, there's a lot of new music on the market. There's a lot of people that are, you know, dumping all the stuff they wrote during COVID out into the world right now.
Yeah,
and it's
definitely.
it's hard getting into something, you know, especially like I said, I'm doing everything myself. I'm trying to learn all of these things, right? Like not only just how to play the instrument so I can write the songs, but, you know, how do you find the right producer? You know, producing some of it myself. Like how do I? That's kind of the theme of everything right now. So that piece of things makes it hard too.
Well,
you know?
Annie,
But-
I think you're going to do okay. You know, after having 11 doctorates and.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I was
See how it
expecting you to
plays
say, well, last week I was up on the International Space Station. And,
out. Yeah, well,
I was
still can't
just-
play a bar chord on the guitar, but I can play.
Well,
It's fine. We'll get there.
So, okay. So, that's really cool. Annie, I want to thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. This has been great.
This is a great thing.
Thank you.
And if you want to tell everybody how they can find your .coms and stuff, why don't you
Yes.
go ahead and tell everybody that?
All right, so I've got a website at www.trashyannie.com. But if you would like to follow on the socials, it's Trashy Annie Music for Instagram, and then Trashy Annie for Facebook. So thank you, and I would love a follow and share some stuff around.
Yeah, you got to do.
And
You got to
keep it up.
subscribe.
Yeah, please subscribe on Spotify and those channels too, because I'll have a whole bunch of new music coming out here in the next.
Yeah.
6-12
Also
months.
remember that you got Rumble, Telegram, BitChute.
I don't know what any of those things are.
Okay, so
We got those things.
I
I don't know
spend a
what
lot.
they are.
I'm like in my community, I'm the point guy.
Okay.
I'm the one that goes out and finds the different
Good.
things
You
that
tell me
work.
where to go. I'll go put
So
stuff on there.
just don't forget about Rumble, Telegram, and BitChute, and your European channels.
Okay.
Okay, because not everybody's on the English-speaking Facebook or YouTube, right?
Okay.
A lot of people jumped off Facebook
gotcha.
and YouTube and went to the other ones.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'll put a listing out online when I post a show. But yeah, Rumble, Telegram,
Okay.
and BitChute. Anyway, so check it out. That's Annie. And her super talented guitar abilities.
Yeah,
Playing her
amazing
3
guitar.
songs, Something in the Water, Lie to Me, and Juliet. And that's the truth. This day's got it going, and we'll see you next time, Society Network.